Good morning, your judge, miss.
How are you? That's a new one. Got tickets for us. Okay. Where are our other two? Is this new, or do you always do this?
This will be the 9th annual.
Ooh. My brother has that now.
My mother died of it. It is. That's the thing. There are resources in the community to help, but most people don't know where they are or how to access them. And that's why we do. Good morning, sir.
Sure, yeah. A lot of buzz. How are y'all?
Good.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024 Tarrant County Commissioners Court meeting. I now call the meeting to order.
Tim O'Hare, County Judge.
Present.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner, Precinct 1.
Present.
Elisa Simmons, Commissioner, Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner, Precinct 3.
Here.
Manny Ramirez, Commissioner, Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
All right. Thank you very much. Today's invocation will be led by Chaplain Aaron Kreider. He's a chaplain with the United States Air Force. So please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let's pray. Father in heaven, I come to you today with gratitude for your grace that's so evident in our city and so evident in this courtroom today. I pray that by your grace you'd grant us wisdom from heaven to balance the scales of justice in this place as your sovereign voice guides with gentleness and strength. I pray that for both judge and jury that you would carry the burden and replace the heavy weights of this court with your yoke, which is easy and light. And above all, Lord, we ask for the grace of Almighty God to order the steps of this court today and in the days to come so that justice prevails. And for that, we do and we always will give you thanks, Lord. We ask this all in the precious name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. So we have, in light of the fact that it's 2 days prior to our nation's birthday, we have and happy July 4th to all of you. We have a special presentation here to celebrate our nation's birth. Chandler, would you make an introduction of our special guest?
I'd be happy to. So, court members, from our one and only transportation department, we have the one and only Mr. Joseph Jackson, who is our county engineer. Moonlighting as a fiddle player in a country band, Joseph has agreed to come and bring his fiddle in here today and actually get us in the Independence Day spirit.
Outstanding. Let's welcome Joseph. I think we all know if you're going to play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band. That's a great way to kick us off. All right, do we have any agenda announcements?
Sorry, that's me. Good morning, court members again. Just two agenda announcements this morning. Number one, we have one item that's been pulled from consent. That is C6 under Budget and Risk Management. And we are going to hold A5 until a later meeting.
That's consent.
That is currently on consent, but it's going to be held till a later meeting. We're targeting July 16th.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And happy Independence Day, court members.
Yes, sir. All right, do we have any Commissioners Court announcements? I know Commissioner Brooks has an important one.
I do. On August the 17th, at 9 o'clock in the morning, Precinct 1 will present its 9th annual Alzheimer's Education Seminar. The purpose of this event is to let people who are going through the Alzheimer's journey with a loved one know where the community resources are to ease the impact of that journey. There are resources in the community that can help you and can help your loved one. Come out on August the 17th, 9 o'clock in the morning at the Trinity River campus of Tarrant County College and learn where help can be found for the Alzheimer's journey.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. Anyone else? Okay, yesterday I had the privilege of swearing in 4 people that are in new roles for Tarrant County. The first 3 were the newly elected members of the Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors, so they were sworn in and they became official members yesterday. In addition to that, our tax assessor, Wendy Burgess, effective yesterday by state law, went from a non-voting member of the board to a voting member of the board. So that board is now comprised of 9 members, 5 people chosen by collective, all the tax entities, the tax assessor, and then the 3 elected at large. And then the other swearing in I did yesterday was for Dr. Brian Byrd. He took his oath of office and officially became the Tarrant County Public Health Director yesterday morning. So let's give a round of applause to all 4 of those individuals. All right, with no other Commissioners Court announcements, we will now move to employee recognition. How many of you are here solely for employee recognition? Okay, excellent. Well, welcome. We appreciate you very much. And I know there's a reception after we recognize you. Is it right behind us? Is it back there? No?
4th floor.
4th floor?
Yes,
okay, great. So I'm going to ask all of our 5-year employees who are present to please stand as we call your name so we can recognize you all as a group. Jerry Allen, Aaron Beasley, Sylvia Camarillo, Nino Bienvenido Camangol Jr. How'd I do? Okay. Omar Diaz, Sean Haltom, Bill Hanna,
Well,
Gregory Harrison Jr. Trapper John, MD, didn't work out for him, so some of you will get that. William Hayes, Jeannie Jones, Anthony Orozco Jr., Melinda Rodriguez, Nolan Shaver, Yvonne Torres, Lisa Vega, Darrell Walker, Joshua Willis, and Robin Worley. Thank you all for your 5 years service to Tarrant County. We appreciate you very much. All right, now for our tenure employees, please stand as I call your name. Beatriz Cabrera Moreno, James Chiang, Carrie Irvin, Monica Foster, Hector Gabriel, Sandra Hatchett, Carol Jackson, Amanda Rhodes, Christine Soul, and Kurt Wildermuth. Thank you all for your 10 years. We appreciate you. Now for our 15-year employees. Please stand as I call your name if you are here. Cynthia Kottman, Tracy Johnson, Christopher Kunow. All right. Ralph Rocco. Is Ralph here? We were almost perfect. Lauren Turnerhill. All right. Thank you all very much for your time here. We appreciate you. Now for our 20-year employees. Please stand. Kathy Ballard. Maudie Lacey. Elida Perez. Amelia Rice. And Miguel Ibarra. Thank you for being here 20 years. We appreciate you. All right, we have kind of a short list today of 25-year and 30-year employees. So I'm going to ask, as I call your name, for you to stand so we can tell folks about you and celebrate your 25 or 30 years. Is Tammy Dossie Brock here? Hello, Tammy. How are you? Good. 25 years with us. Administrative court clerk for JP Precinct 6. Tammy was born in Fort Worth, went to high school at Burleson, went to college at Kaplan, has 4 daughters. That's what I have. That's quite a load.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, tell me about it. Fact that no one knows about her, she's an open book. Everyone knows everything about her. What she likes to do for fun is spend time at the beach with her family. You going to a beach this summer? No? Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Well, it's the same. What she likes to do for fun is spend time at the beach, family, travel. Other titles she's had with the county: jailer at the Belknap Jail, administrative receptionist for CID, 911 operator, administrative secretary for North and South Patrol, and records clerk. Her most memorable moment: she worked in the Criminal Investigation Division. A probation officer took her 2 stepchildren to Echo Lake Park. She shot, unfortunately, one child and the other ran. They found her and brought her into CID, where she then had to search her person and change her out into inmate uniform. Since there were no female detectives in the office, she was still jailer certified. The coldness about her was very offsetting. No remorse in her eyes or facial expressions. She was very cold. It was a very emotional moment because she could not fathom why anyone would want to harm their child. So I bet that was something that stays with you the rest of your life. What she likes the most about Tarrant County is the stability, knowing she can support her family and have health coverage, and at the end of the day, everyone's going to be okay. She did not intend on this being a career when she started as a jailer in 1999, but it has ended up being the best decision she has made, as she has literally grown up with the county. So thank you very much, Tammy, for your 25 years. We appreciate it. Next, we have Jennifer Montgomery. Also JP6. She's the Justice Court Manager. She was born in Denton, went to high school at Haltom, went to Tarrant County College, has 1 child, Ella. Fact no one knows about her. Regardless of how her office looks, she's a very organized person at home. So what she likes to do for fun: she loves going to concerts, movies, spending time with her daughter and husband, loves reality television. What's the last concert you went to?
Cody Jinks.
Okay, cool.
I went Friday night too.
What's that?
Parker Republic.
Okay, excellent. Other titles she has had with the county: administrative court clerk for JP6. Most memorable moment: she's had the pleasure of working for 2 amazing bosses. She worked for Judge Gary Ritchie for 19 years and now Judge Jason Charbonnet for the past 5 years. She can also proudly say that her 25 years with the county has been with the same office. And what she loves most: just being able to assist the public, and she is proud to tell people that she works for Tarrant County. She also likes meeting and working with people in other Tarrant County departments, and we are proud to have you in Tarrant County. Thank you for your 25 years. We appreciate it. All right, next we have Deborah Lockhart. Where are you, Deborah? Okay, hi there. She has also been with us 25 years. She is an assistant criminal district attorney. She's worked in asset forfeiture for 7 years. She did protective orders for 8 years. Before that, she was with Legal Aid. And she was born in Samborn, England. Pretty cool. She does not have an English accent anymore. She moved here as a teenager and kind of changed her way she talks. She graduated from Lake Highlands High School. While she was at Lake Highlands, they won a state championship in football. I remember that well, the old days. She went to college at the University of Dallas in Irving and went to law school at SMU. Fact that no one knows about her, she says she's really shy, but I'm not sure I buy that one. What she likes to do for fun: read, travel, and dance. She teaches Zumba, and she also does ballroom dancing with her husband. The place she wants to travel to most is Australia, and she just got back last week from Cozumel. Pretty cool. Her most memorable moment was when a domestic abuse defendant brought his dog to court to testify and asked the judge to let the dog testify that there's no way he could have done what he was accused of. The good news, he was found guilty and the dog did not testify. So what she likes the most, whenever she has a question or needs information, there is always someone very willing to help her. She has worked under 4 DAs. Did I get that right? It's 4, right? 4 DAs. And Deborah, thank you very much for your 25 years. It's a pleasure to get to know you. All right, now we have a couple of 30-year employees. The first from the Sheriff's Department is Maria Hernandez. Maria, are you here? Hi, Maria. Thank you. You look too young to have been here 30 years. So she's been here with us 30 years. She's an accounting specialist. She was born in Fort Worth, graduated from Trimble Tech. She has 2 daughters. For fun, she likes to shop, travel, spend time with family and friends, but especially with her new grandson, Emilio. She has worked numerous positions inside the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office in the booking department. Her most memorable moment, I think, was the birth of her grandson and being able to take care of him.
Yep.
And what she likes most is that she has worked with lots of great people that became family. And Maria, we thank you so much for your 30 years of dedication to Tarrant County. And the last one, I'm not sure if she's here. We did not get a hold of her or get a form, but is Marquetta Westmoreland here? Marquetta, are you with us? Okay. Well, she works for CSCD. She has been with us 30 years. If you are listening or see this later, Marquetta, we are very grateful to you for 30 years of service. Thank you so much. And please feel free to come by and visit anytime you'd like to. Let's give a big round of applause to Marquetta. All right, I will make a motion that we receive and file the employee recognition.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. I don't think you're in. Somebody's not in. There we go. All right, it passes unanimously. Thank you all to all of our employees. We appreciate you very much. You may now leave if you'd like and go to the reception on the 4th floor, and we'll take a couple of minutes break as they make their way out of the courtroom.
Oh, wow. Leading the way.
Leading the way.
Not more than this.
All right, as we continue the meeting, the next item up on the agenda is a congratulatory resolution for the Links Incorporated's 44th National Assembly. Commissioner Brooks.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution has already been presented, so I move ratification this morning.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to ratify this resolution. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. That passes unanimously. The next up is a congratulatory resolution honoring a charter member and living legend, Shirley Rowland, from Zeta Delta Sigma Alumni Chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, Inc., on winning the 2024 Southwestern Region Alumni Chapter of the Year. Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you, Judge. Hello, ladies, all those Sigma Gamma Rho's. Wave. What a great turnout. So I wanted to thank you from the Arlington chapter for all of your service and present this proclamation to your award-winning chapter. So, whereas Quindon L. Stinson Robertson, Shirley Rowland, and 3 other professional black women, Helen Bell, Anna Mae Jackson, and Carrie B. Powell, all members of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, saw fit to seek a graduate alumni chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated to be located in Tarrant County, Texas. And whereas on June 26, 1982, from the single vision of these 5 women, the Zeta Delta Sigma chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho was chartered and witnessed by members Emma Kate Hall, Hazel Webster, Dorothy Faye Feltus, and Consuela Payne Parker. And whereas for 42 years, your chapter has provided significant educational support, women's wellness, infant care, and community health to women, families, and children in Tarrant County through the sorority's essential programming. And whereas your chapter's outstanding community service has risen above that of the sorority's more than 500 chapters across the globe to earn the sorority's distinguished Centennial International Alumni Chapter of the Year Award in 2022 under the leadership of Centennial President Ashley McGee. And whereas the women of the Zeta Delta Sigma chapter again were recognized for their continuous community impact by being named the 2024 Southwestern Region Alumni Chapter of the Year on March 16, 2024. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby honor the living legend, Ms. Shirley Rowland. Would you stand? Is she standing? For her incredible vision to create a world in which all women and their families reach their full potential, and congratulate the phenomenal women of Zeta Delta Sigma chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated for their continuous commitment to this vision. In witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 2nd day of July 2024. So if you will all join me for a picture up here, like all of you. We'll squish up here.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Wow.
Is this the whole Arlington chapter?
200. My goodness. Couldn't you say? She
She's with HR. She works with Tina.
Ms. Shirley.
I would just like to say thank you all for this honor. When I was told that this is going to happen, I was in shock because I've never looked at myself as being a legend, let alone a living legend. 48 years ago, I started this journey with Sigma Gamma, well, becoming a Sigma Gamma Rho. And 42 years ago, we decided to charter a chapter in Arlington. And we have been working in Arlington for 42 years. We, as she said earlier, we have won Chapter of the Year for our region for 2 years, and our International Chapter of the Year 1 year, and we're going back this month to see if we can make that 2 years in a row. And so it is my heart, Sigma Gamma Rho is. I have worked to make sure that we are recognized and that we do what we were chartered to do, and that's to serve our community. And that's what we work for. And I've been doing it for 48 years, almost 50 years. I'll be honored again for being in this great sorority. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you for your service.
Recognizing us.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rowland. Thank you, ladies. Next item on the agenda is a congratulatory resolution for Oakhurst Neighborhood's 100th anniversary. Commissioner Ramirez.
Yes, I have the honor and privilege of presenting this congratulatory resolution for the 100th anniversary of an incredible Fort Worth neighborhood, the Oakhurst neighborhood. So whereas in 1924, Fort Worth businessman John P. King and V.S. Wardlaw began developing the neighborhood through their Oakhurst Land Company, Incorporated, with platting of the first 168 lots in 8 blocks, and whereas the Oakhurst Land Company made these lots available to the public by officially placing them on the market on June 15, 1924, with construction of the first home completed in August of 1924, and whereas residents or Oakhurst established one of the first neighborhood associations in Fort Worth, the Oakhurst Neighborhood Association, in 1981, and established the first Citizens on Patrol unit in Fort Worth, assisting the Fort Worth Police Department with neighborhood patrols. And whereas over the past 100 years, Oakhurst has been named Fort Worth's Neighborhood of the Year, a record-setting 3 times, in 2006, 2010, and in 2022, and has won national neighborhood awards. And whereas the Oakhurst Historic District was listed in 2010 on the National Register of Historic Places of the U.S. Department of Interior, the official list of the nation's historic places worthy of preservation. And whereas Oakhurst and its residents continue to promote community, teamwork, beautification, preservation, and safety through their neighborhood groups and events. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize and honor Oakhurst Centennial Celebration and proclaim its appreciation for the Oakhurst Neighborhood Association and all it has done and continues to do for its residents, the Riverside community, the city of Fort Worth, and Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 18th day of June 2024, and I would move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously.
Excellent. And with us today, we have Katie Owens, who is the president, Catherine O'Markel, vice president, Daniel Shank, treasurer, Linda Thomas, secretary, Glenda Hartzell Shelton, Blaine Brewer, and many Code Blue members from the neighborhood. If you would please come up and accept this resolution. Let's take a picture. President Katie Owens will have a few words for us.
Judge O'Hare, Commissioners, good morning. Commissioner Ramirez, thank you so much for you and your team ensuring this celebratory resolution, making it possible. We are grateful for the opportunity to address the court this morning, and we are excited to share this 100th anniversary with our neighbors, our community members, and our community leaders, and our friends and our families. Thank you so much for the introduction, and specifically, we have members of our welcome committee, Phyllis England and Deb Brown. When you move into Oakhurst, you are greeted by a batch of Phyllis's brownies and smiling faces. That's just one of many things that makes Oakhurst special. We also have our Code Blue team, Fred England, David Collier, Jesse Aguilera, and Robert Brown present today. They're just a few of our members that keep our community safe. Located just northeast of downtown, Oakhurst is home to many current and former Tarrant County employees, and for anyone who has lived in, visited, or otherwise had the opportunity to be welcomed into Oakhurst, there's no denying that it's a very special place. The fact that Oakhurst has remained a welcoming and safe neighborhood for 100 years is no small feat, and is the continual commitment of our neighbors and our community leaders, such as yourselves, to not only the neighborhood, but to each other that has led us here today. Thank you for this recognition and your support in ensuring that Oakhurst remains the wonderful neighborhood that it is today for the next 100 years. We can't thank you enough. We wish you a fun and safe 4th of July, and we invite you to our 4th of July parade that takes place at 10:30 on Thursday in Oakhurst Park. You know, bring your bicycles and come get you a hot dog. So thank you so much for this honor. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we come to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the amended consent agenda? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Brings us to the regular portion of our agenda. The first item up is A1, the discussion and possible vote on an issuance of Series 2024-A1 and Series 2024-A2 revenue refunding bonds. Megan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Megan.
So as Judge O'Hare stated, this is a request to issue the 2024-A1 and Series 2024-A2 revenue refunding bonds. These bonds will be used to refund previously issued bonds for Trinity Terrace. And I'm here to answer any questions. I also have Mr. Dean present if there's any additional questions for him.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion before bringing up a speaker or speakers? All right, our first speaker is Lon Burnham, then Gerald and Jackie Cox.
Find that. Colleen, you have it? Can I have it? Good morning, everybody. Hoping you're having a great 4th of July week already. I'm not taking a position on this item because I have a probable conflict of interest, which is something that I want to remind other elected officials of. It's always important to be mindful when you might have a conflict of interest when we're discussing these items. I want to use this opportunity to talk about housing in general. For the last 2 years, many of us have been coming to Commissioner's Court about what you're not doing to address the housing crisis, particularly for our unhoused who too often spend their nights in your county jail.
So you're out of order with what you're speaking about on this item. That's a public comments issue. If you want to speak to this particular agenda item, you're welcome to. If you're not speaking to this agenda item,
Yes.
that's a public comments item.
The specific to this item is it is a really good example of how those who have access to the system know how to access big hunks of money. And it's the county's job to make sure that other people that don't have access to the system have access to funds like this to provide for housing for them. I happen to like Trinity Terrace, but they are all, by definition, privileged individuals that have access to resources. We should be doing the same for the unhoused. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next is Ms. Cox.
Well, I'm pleased to hear this. I'm Jackie Cox. I guess I'm pleased to hear from Juan that he thinks of Trinity Terrace as a charitable organization. My impression of Trinity Terrace has been formed by going there for quite fancy dinners with people who were residents there. Trinity Terrace is a place where people pay $500,000 down to get in and $5,000 a month to live there. It is more or less your luxury living facility. So I don't think of it as a charitable organization. Sir, could you pause the exam? The Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation, which is the entity that sends this to you, is listed on your website. It's at www.tarrantcounty.gov/en/Commissioners Court Boards. It's a quasi-governmental entity. You appoint them. But their membership is listed in something I just gave to be passed out. And they seem to have only 2 members. Those are Robert Lansford and Stephen Purvis. Neither of those was a signatory on the thing that is sent to you for approval. And they list their meetings for 2024 as not any. And there is a resolution attached to this thing that is presented to you saying that there was a meeting of the board on June 25th of this year. So I can't verify that that meeting really happened, but I can tell you that the form that was sent to you, allegedly signed by William Alexander, president of the board, that's the back of the resolution of Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation, yada, is not signed by anybody. So what we have is a resolution purportedly by the president of a board allegedly appointed by you all, but your website shows that no one of the name of the person who signed as the board, chairman president, is a member of the board. And I can tell you for sure that if I were picking charitable organizations to donate to, I would not pick the residents of some of the wealthiest people in the city of Fort Worth. It is not what I would consider the best charitable organization. The cover sheet on your handout, I mean, your posted thing on your website says that the corporation is supplemented the hospital authority, but because...
Thank you. Your time is up.
But you could better give the money to the hospital authority.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Comments or discussion from commissioners?
I do have some thoughts, and I met with Mr. Dean. I had him stop by and try to talk to me about this. There are a number of questions he couldn't answer for me. So I'm unable to determine whether Trinity Terrace meets the criteria and, most importantly, the governmental intent for issuance of these bonds under the Finance Corporation's mission and its purpose. So, like the speakers have said, I've researched, and Trinity Terrace is an upscale living retirement community, like many retirement apartment complexes and senior living facilities. At this time, I can't make a distinction between Trinity Terrace, the upscale community with 30 different floor plans between 3 towers, and what is billed in this application as a health facility, as defined by the Health Facilities Development Act of the Texas Health and Safety Code. So, to me, it's really pushing the boundaries and stretching the definition of being a healthcare facility. I'm not sure Trinity Terrace needs the usage of the county's good credit rating to assist it with its refinancing its debt. I just don't have enough information yet. I don't think this court has enough to make a sound and prudent judgment on this approval request.
All right, any other comments from commissioners? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. All right, it passes 4-1. Next up is item 2, which is approval of out-of-state travel requests. So I'll move to approve those items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Next up is item B1, which is to receive and file the auditor's report of the Public Health Department and controls over federal and state grants.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I'm here to present 2 items to you today, and the first one, as you mentioned, was the report on the Public Health Department's controls over federal and state grants. We've identified some items, some issues, and made some recommendations. We have been in ongoing conversations with Public Health. At the time, it was Tom and his team, and we've been working with budget as well to come up with some plan of actions. One of the things that we have implemented are bridge meetings, and that's simply where we sit down with the programmatic staff as well as the financial and compliance related staff to make sure everybody knows what the expectations are, what the requirements are, and how we can comply. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I know Tom and Dr. Burt are here if you have any questions for them as well.
So there were 3, what I would describe as pretty significant issues.
Yes, sir.
Performance reports not submitted on time, or in some cases not at all.
Correct.
Controls over equipment purchase with grant funds not adequate. Grant budgets not adequately monitored. Can you touch on what you found on each of those?
Yes, sir. The first one is related to programmatic related reports, and this is an item that was identified by Deloitte during their audit of the single audit, which is also reflected here. Essentially, when they were doing their work, ultimately The Department of State and Health Resources was aware that these reports were late. So while they were late, they didn't necessarily have a negative impact, but we do feel like going forward, we need to make sure that we have the controls in place. And so that's what the first one's about. Do you have any other questions or concerns related to that one?
Questions? No.
Concerns, right.
Yeah.
Right. All right, and I believe they are working on addressing those as well, catching up, reporting their documents, and we're working with them. And something that we talked about this morning is maybe in 3 or 4 months, we'll go and do a deeper dive to see where their status is on those as well. Now, on the controls over equipment purchase, that's directly related to physical inventory. That's been an ongoing issue with public health. They are not consistently employing the use of asset transfer sheets, updating the system, or knowing where they are located at that time. And our team had to work with them before the Department of State and Health Resources showed up this time for their annual audit to make sure everything was in place. But it should be an ongoing process. We shouldn't have to go in there and go, oh, wait, you don't have this fixed. Let's get this fixed. So that's something that we are continually working on with them. Any other questions? Okay. All right, and then budget reports. This one is specific to some items related to positions. As far as monitoring budgets, a lot of times they would come up and they would be 100% expended, would have positions in those grants that would have to be moved at the last minute, retroactively, all of which are not good controls to have in place. So that's part of the bridge process as well, is kind of looking at the budget, looking at what the expenses are at that point in time, and allowing them to think, okay, where do we need these resources, or do we need these resources anymore? So that's what we're trying to implement. I will say the budget office is taking a charge as far as the front end goes, and we're always on the back end, but we're all working closely together to make sure that some of these issues will be addressed and not a problem again. So.
All right, any other questions or comments from the court on this item? I know Dr. Byrd will reach out to you quickly and make sure we get all our ducks in a row.
Yes,
All right.
To receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion to second to receive and file this report. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Item 2 is to receive and file the single audit report for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023.
That is correct. Also, in the couple of findings that are listed in here are also programmatic related to public health. One thing, when I visited with the partner last week, he said overall, it is, when you think about the amount of money that goes through our county, for example, we expended over $234 million. These are, when they are going to classify findings, these would be considered significant and not material. There were no unallowable costs identified, so those are some things that we need to keep in mind. It's working, but we still have room for improvement.
All right, any other questions on this item? All right, I'll move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? Please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Kim. Next item is C1, fiscal year 24 appropriation adjustments.
Seeking approval of the appropriation adjustments.
Any questions for Helen?
Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to second to approve these adjustments. Without discussion, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Also, item C6, which was removed from consent. C6 is to vote on accepting U.S. Department of Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program grant award to upgrade the Tarrant County Plaza parking garage lighting system.
Yes. Seeking approval for acceptance of the grant.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve.
I have comments.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I pulled this item just to simply say a big thank you to Beverly Wanza over in facilities for making this happen for the Tarrant County taxpayer. I'm familiar with this particular grant because I found it about a year ago, and I directed my staff to look into it. What they reported back to me was that it was a block grant that Tarrant County was entitled to in the amount that you see on this court communication. It wasn't competitive. All that we needed to do as a county was to apply for it. And so I sent my staff on a bit of a goose chase through county administration and to facilities to see if we'd applied for this grant. And eventually they found that Ms. Wanza was working on it. And so although she had very little experience, she shared with my team with the grant process, the application process for this type of grant. She persisted and worked with the rest of the facilities team to get this done. So I really appreciate it. Not only will this grant serve to improve the energy efficiency of the plaza garage lighting, it will also help Tarrant County taxpayers on electricity costs through those efficiency gains. So just wanted to say thank you to her. And I know that we have added Rand to help out with grants. I was with the city of Arlington this week, and their grant department is made up of, currently they have 8 members of their grant department and are about to hire 5 more. And so I think that as a county, we probably need to step it up a bit. That's it.
So we do have Rand. On October 1, another position will be moving down from the admin office to assist Rand with grants. So we'll have 2 working on grants. But I will say that Rand and Katie, when she is with us, are already working together and doing a great work for the county. So.
All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Brings us to I-1, which is to discuss approval of an out-of-class pay extension, Precinct 1.
Yes, good morning. Your communique explains that Commissioner Brooks is requesting an extension of out-of-class pay. This extension, if approved by the court, would take us through October the 4th. There is a cost to the Road and Bridge Fund associated with this request of about $1,100. However, that cost will be completely offset by salary savings.
All right, move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Item 2, discussing approval of a waiver of terminal benefits in HR.
Yes, thank you, Judge. So my HR coordinator retired at the end of last month. Many of you probably worked, or your staff has worked with Savette Garrison. So she is enjoying a life of a retiree. She's missed, and this is a very critical position in my department. She is my primary recruiter for professional, managerial, and executive level recruitment. And so we have been going through the recruitment process. I've selected a replacement. We are looking at a net cost to the general fund of about $13,300. However, that cost will be offset by departmental salary savings.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
All right, next we come to purchasing. I would ask the court members to take a look at items 1 through 7, 1 through 7. If you do not have any questions or comments on items 1 through 7, I will make a motion to approve purchasing items K1 through 7.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Brings us to K8.
Yeah, this is a request for permission to take bids and RFPs for items A through F.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to grant permission to take bids and RFPs. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next up, we come to appointments to boards or commissions. Do we have any appointments to be made today?
Yeah, I've got one. Appointing David Packer. And David has been appointed to the Tarrant County Certified Local Government Committee.
All right, I'll second that. Any discussion on that item? All right, please cast your vote. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Any other board or commission appointments? All right, next we move to claims and addendum. Is that on this agenda?
That's on consent.
It's on consent, okay. All right, announcements or comments from the court? All right, seeing none, we'll go to our public comments. The first person signed up to speak that I have is Lydia Faith. Following Ms. Faith is Carla Palomares. Either of you present? Is that the speaker? No. All right, how about Rogelio Moquero? No. How about Gwen Johnson? Following Ms. Johnson, we have Reed Bills.
Okay, good morning. After being a two-time precinct chair and an election judge for over 40 years now, I have found that precinct voting doesn't work well for the 1.3 million registered voters of Tarrant County. Just when we get them accustomed to voting one way, you guys come along and change it. What a brilliant example of voter suppression. Do you not have heart for all the disabled voters out there who muster up enough strength to get to the polls to exercise their civic duty? Back during the primaries, a disabled man walking barely with a cane stood at the back of the line waiting to vote, only to find out by the time he reached the front that he was in the wrong place, all because you say he must vote where he lives. I have numerous times in the past have had to send people back to where they live to vote, and that is very disparaging because we are too glad to see them come in to vote in the first place. In 2019 or 2020, my polling location was considered the #1 polling location for the first-time voters. At the end of that election, I had over 200 votes. Try to imagine me telling 1/3 of that number that they were in the wrong precinct. Do you actually think that they would bother to go to another location to vote? I don't, because they won't do it. So, as a current and still very active election judge, I implore you not to bring this type of voting back. Think about it. When you are running, or if you are running for an office or re-election, either one of you, and if your friend or supporters work or live across town and can't make it back to their respective precincts in time to vote for you, you will lose votes because they are trying to abide or give in to your decision to require them to turn around and go back across town to vote. It's called think before you act.
Following Ms. Bills, we have Janine Vaughn.
Reed Bills, and I am a Tarrant County taxpayer. I am here to report an attempt to suppress voting in Tarrant County. A vocal group of political activists are trying to convince you to discontinue countywide voting. This is clearly an effort to make voting more difficult, even impossible for some, by limiting access to voters. This will especially impact working citizens who cannot get to their polling places during business hours. The cost to taxpayers in resources such as ballots and machines and extra polling sites and workers should alone prohibit this action as being fiscally irresponsible. Voting is sacred. It is a sacred patriotic right constitutionally granted to American citizens. Curtailing this right is illegal, unethical, and unconscionable. I call on you to do your duty to exercise election integrity.
All right, is Ms. Vaughn here? All right, do we have an overflow room working at the moment? Okay, so I don't know why they can't be in here, but why don't you send everybody from the overflow room into this room? All right, with no Ms. Vaughn, we have Lori Duke. Is Lori Duke present? Following Ms. Duke is Charles Bills. Okay, is that the speaker?
Yes. Sorry, I had to bring my children with me today. It's the last place they want to be, but on their summer vacay, but such is the life of mothers. I'm a lifelong resident of Tarrant County, and I wholeheartedly support our current countywide voting system. I wish Mr. Ramirez was here because he is my commissioner for my area. But this is no longer the county that my father grew up in. My father grew up in a chicken coop that was abandoned on a farm. I grew up in a neighborhood where you could still have coyotes howling. We are now a city that is a traffic-ridden area with 2 million people. We're the third largest county, and in the DFW Metroplex, there's 8 million people, cars. I mean, it's a lot. And from my perspective, the Tarrant County government website in 2019 showed that 50% of our voters that were casting ballots at the polling place when we started the countywide were voted in precincts that weren't in their current county. And then for a constitutional amendment election per the TarrantCounty.gov website, the voter turnout was at the highest level since 2005. And we all know that turnout is low. As a mother, I'm at the point of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's clearly working. It helps people. I know as a teacher, I commuted between Fort Worth, where I lived, and Arlington, and that commute became longer, as did my workload as a teacher. And then on top of that, my colleagues and friends commuted from areas like Louisville, Azle, Weatherford, and Dallas, all to Arlington ISD. It's still a predominantly female workforce, especially at the level that I taught at, which was elementary. And most of us are teaching kids, raising our kids, and on top of that, have parents that are aging and in their twilight years. I don't know any woman my age who isn't deprived of oxygen to come up for air from her responsibilities. Not one. Tarrant County's website said the Secretary of State office reviewed the reports and public comments of countywide polling and certified Tarrant as conducting a successful countywide polling place program. I'm not one to speak for others, But in this case, I feel confident in saying that women and working families who look like me, who don't look like
Thank
me,
you. Your time is up.
don't want pity for the
Ma'am,
struggle.
your time is up.
I'll finish.
You will not finish.
We
Your
want
time.
to vote
Please remove her.
without the struggle.
It's 3 minutes. That's the rules.
Imposed
We're going to follow
by
the
a
rules.
return to precinct voting.
All right. Following
Where's the
Mr.
power?
Bills is Levon Cockrell.
I also support keeping the countywide voting. I have been a election judge for several years now. One of the main complaints of the, or citations of the people that want to return to precinct voting is voter security, ballot security. And, you know, if someone lives in Azle and he votes in Mansfield, then I could see how his vote is not as secure. But conversely, if somebody lives in a heavily Democratic area and they want to vote Republican, then they would be more secure possibly if they go to a different precinct to vote. You know, as long as the the election service does not keep the information of where someone votes, as long as they vote, I think that that's secure enough. And I think the voters agree that the convenience outweighs the any potential security issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ms. Cockrell here? All right, next we have Estella Williams. Ms. Williams here. All right, next we have Max Wood. Is Mr. Wood here? Following Mr. Wood, we have Lon Burnham. Good morning.
I'm here today to express my disappointment and, in fact, my utter disdain for a policy which I understand to be part of the conservative agenda across the state. Certain politicians are attempting to further degrade the voting system in the state of Texas by eliminating countywide voting. This policy, if enacted, would require that voters cast their ballots only at specific designated polling locations with no option to vote elsewhere in the county. Every citizen who is eligible to vote should be able to do so efficiently and freely, unencumbered by legislation which only serves to discourage American citizens from voting at all. There's no legitimate reason for a policy like this to exist. There are only illegitimate reasons. The goal here is clearly to make voting more difficult, in effect reducing the number of people who show up to the polls and the number of ballots that are ultimately counted. It joins the ranks of other voting laws passed in recent years which aim to weaken the voting system. It is a shameless attempt to subvert democracy, which explains, what these individuals who are promoting this do not understand is that you cannot take away the freedoms of ordinary people without them fighting back. We are not afraid of you, and in fact, all you're doing is turning voters against you and making our voices louder. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Mr. Burnham, we have Michael Bell.
Good morning again. In light of the previous comments, I'll start my comments with an invitation to join us in celebrating the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, which is on August 6th. We don't have the precise time. It'll be an evening event. It's particularly appropriate in light of what's been happening over the last decade to interfere with basic voting rights, and all the other commenters today on public comment have talked about that. But I'm going to pick up where I was left off, kind of rudely interrupted, because I think it's totally legitimate to talk about housing issues in the context of the privilege who were on the agenda earlier today. I had the privilege of participating in a panel discussion over the weekend with County Commissioner Teresa Daniel from Dallas County and one of the advocates of the Justice Network here in Fort Worth. And one of the things that was brought to bear in this panel discussion is how much more aggressive Dallas County is in trying to address the problem of the homeless, unhoused, whatever terminology you want to use. We've got a housing crisis, and the county has a responsibility to address that crisis and not detain these people day in and day out in a jail facility. So I thought it was very interesting that Commissioner Daniel used as a election piece what Dallas County is doing. Dallas County invested $67.5 million in building housing with many partners, which resulted in 20 affordable housing developments throughout the county. They range in size from lease to own individual houses to large-scale mixed-use complexes. This initiative will provide excellent housing for retirees, juveniles, families, and young people starting out. When all projects are completed, approximately 2,000 additional affordable housing units will be added to the housing stock in the county. Dallas County also helps people keep their housing through assistance and eviction prevention programs using housing navigators in the JP courts. Dallas is doing a lot more than we are, and she apologized because they're not doing enough. None of the major urban counties in this state are doing what needs to be done to address the housing issues. I was going to start my public comments with a compliment to the sheriff because, you know, we had a commissioner's court and we have not had a single death since the last commissioner's court. We haven't had a homicide since the last commissioner's court. So maybe by people just coming up here at every commissioner's court talking about what you should be doing to address the crisis in both housing and the jail, we're making a little bit of progress. Thank you for your time. I'll give you 10 seconds back.
Following Mr. Bell, we have Julie Griffin.
If it pleases the court, last week the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office secured a grand jury indictment for murder against 2 Sheriff Department jailers. These same detention officers who were indicted had been fired and, because of Sheriff Wayburn's incompetence, rehired because of their role in the homicide of Mr. Anthony Ray Johnson, Jr. It seems that finally something has been done to hold somebody accountable for the in-custody deaths at the Tarrant County Jail. The indictments only indicate that the grand jury saw what the citizens of this county have seen in the 5-minute snippet that we've been allowed to see. However, where is the sheriff's plan to address the toxic environment that persists at the Tarrant County Jail that gave rise to 67 in-custody deaths? The question remains, when will the other Sheriff Department personnel who participated in the homicide of Mr. Johnson be charged for their role in his death? This court holds the purse strings to the Sheriff's Department. This court has signed off on millions of dollars to try and settle the mess perpetrated by the Sheriff Department's dysfunction. And you can require that the Sheriff Department clean up their act.
Following Ms. Griffin, we have Anthony Johnson, Sr.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Grant us wisdom. Point number 1, the sheriff needs to release the full video of Mr. Anthony Johnson's death, at a minimum to the Commissioner's Court, to you, but more appropriately to the full public, to us. We need to see the full flow of events. We have been presented with carefully chosen clips from at least 2 video streams, and this composite zeroes in on the action of one guard, Rafael Moreno, who placed his full 300-pound body weight with his knee on Mr. Johnson's back. This is part of the carefully presented narrative that a rogue individual jailer and a supervisor are fully responsible, not the overall management of the jail. But we also see in the composite clip the casual and careless attitude and inept handling of the crisis by some 7 to 10 guards in attendance at the homicide. And then suddenly, the video ends. We see nothing of the arrival and action, if any, by JPS or MHMR staff employed at the jail. We need to see what staff do from start to finish when there is a crisis. How do all parts of the jail work with or against each other in crisis? Critically, when and how do they care for patients? We also learn from KERA that the jail's restraint policies haven't been updated for 15 years, and they are vague and unclear. This is also very distressing, if not shocking. Mr. Johnson had a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Liberty? Yes. He should never have been placed in the jail with a schizophrenic mental health condition, but in crisis respite with psychiatric care. He was a patient. These rights were removed from him in his arrest, jailing, and murder, and we are part of that deprivation of life if we don't acquire full knowledge and take full action in response. So, commissioners and judge, do not hide behind the sheriff. Demand that he release the full video. If you are not shocked by what we have already seen, you are not paying attention. If you have not watched what has been made publicly available to date, you are not doing your job. Your job requires viewing and taking action on what is shown in the unedited full videos of this death, a death not only by asphyxiation, but by the abdication of responsibility and by the culture of indifference to human life that is evident in our jail and its top leadership. Therefore, point number 2, initiate today that nationwide search for a chief jail administrator who will turn this jail around with publicly accessible best practices, policies, training, and above all, reverence for life and the health and well-being of every individual person in the jail, prisoners and guards alike. No more letting and watching these deaths happen. Do the nationwide search. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Mr. Johnson, we have Jacqueline Johnson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I did have something specific in plan, but after seeing your agenda, as I often spoke to my children about, sometimes when you approach a certain scenario, you might have to change it up. It just happens like that. So I have a briefcase about things that I can say to you in 2 minutes and 59 seconds. But I'm not. Address you. I'm gonna let you know what I'm seeing. Because I don't care about this. Anthony Jr. is dead. You would not know me if he was alive. And for 10 years, I maintained his schizophrenia. Something that I expect everybody up there who expect and who pay people to do their job. So I'm here to express why y'all not doing yours. How come our government, who you're under, because I don't understand how come I don't hear from any of you saying, Mr. Johnson, Governor Abbott, we heard from him, and he wants to let you know that we're behind mental illness. Because everyone in here, let me let you know, we all have that possibility. Particularly all of those up there. Because your job, I wouldn't trade it. And I appreciate you. You just don't even understand that. I appreciate you to a degree that I taught my children how to respect this. And then this system shows me this. I haven't just been a taxpayer in Texas. I'm very disappointed because I voted. I'm more disappointed in the fact that I taught my children to follow me. But as time goes on, I learn agendas change. But when people do what they're supposed to do, agendas change. It's disappointing sometimes. I'm reading here about a washer. I would like for y'all to at least approve for Mr. Wayborn, because I don't see him as a sheriff. And I don't see how y'all could pay him as a sheriff. Because what happened to my son could easily happen to any one of your members. Any one of your members. Any one of your friends' members. So I implore you, show that video. That was my son. I watched him come in this earth. And I want the world to see him leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Jacqueline Johnson, we have Janelle Johnson.
I am here today, Mr. Ramirez. Yes, I am here today to rebuttal some of your comments after the Commissioners' Court on June 18th. I quote, "It's still actively being investigated. I couldn't decide one way or the other." I ask you now, Mr. Ramirez, 2 men have now been indicted for the murder of my son. The investigation is over. It's been over. Are you still undecided on which side you're on? I ask you again, you still believe the jail is being run effectively with murders occurring? You also made a statement about wanting to meet with the family. We, the constituents, put you in that seat. My attorney's name is Darrell Washington. You can reach out to him to set up a meeting if you are truly interested. It will not be the other way around. Like I stated before, your words are vacant and empty. This court controls the purse that funds the sheriff. What are your proposals for change so this never happens to another family? Eckert's 30 years of service, yes, I'm back on him again, is negated because of my son's murder and inclusive of all the 60-plus deaths that have occurred in that jail. He should not be able to walk away without accountability. He is just as guilty. And as a taxpayer, I'm livid that I have to pay for his retirement? Think about that. And I've been in this county for over 20 years. So I'm paying for my son's murderer because it was his policies that led to this. Have you seen the unredacted video? I think I know the answer to that. I'm a woman of my word, Mr. Ramirez. I'm watching what you do. My family and I will continue to come to this court until there is systematic change in that deadly facility.
Following Ms. Janelle Johnson, we have Jackie Cox.
For you, Mr. Ramirez, this is the 3rd time. So I mean that means you heard us. You're gonna come and contact us. We don't come to you. That's not happening anymore. If you really wanna know, if you really wanna make change, you'll come and contact us. Because, like a lady just mentioned, according to KURA, it's been 15 years since any change. That means since I've graduated in high school in 2009, that's the last time anybody has written anything about what's going on in that jail facility, which means you guys don't know what you're doing. It's been fact. So I'm saying, I'm not here asking nothing. You're going to do what I said is going to be done because it's been demonstrated you guys don't know what you're doing. Out of 5 people, only 1 person has been in head and trying to figure out. So that means there's 4 people that are comfortable with senseless death. There's 4 people up here that do not care about the families here in Tarrant County. And I'm here to let you know that's done with. That's ending now. No more. The discomfort that you 4 have been running away from is here now. And your actions ask for it. We hear what you say, but your actions ask for this discomfort that you guys are brought upon yourself. We're running this now. You guys don't know what you're doing.
Following Ms. Cox, we have Dorian Geiger.
I'm Ms. Cox. I'm here to talk to you today about the problems created when you release snippets of videos of what happens when someone dies. And we don't know what happened on all of the cameras that were running, and we don't know who picked and chose what things we would see. But we do know that if you are the editor who controls the view, you control the facts that people see, and you make us believe that we've seen all the facts, when in fact we've seen less than all of the facts. The attorneys who represent the officers now indicted have asked for release of the video from all of the cameras so that maybe we will know what really happened. And although I wouldn't, I don't represent officers, I'm more wanting to know what happened, who killed the person, Mr. Johnson, who did it, what happened. I can't tell how close he was sprayed with pepper spray. I don't know what happened with the healthcare people. I know that there are allegations and cross allegations as to who's responsible for what. But I also know that there were multiple videos, and until we see all of what was on all of the video cameras present, we won't have a full picture of what happened. And as it stands now, all we know for sure is that somebody manipulates what we get to see and keeps us from seeing full picture. I hope that someone will force the release of all the videos. Thank you.
Following Ms. Geiger, we have Stella Fair. All right, is Ms. Fair here? Following Ms. Fair, we have Nan Terry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As a longtime registered voter of Tarrant County, I am very concerned and appalled at the attempts by certain special interest groups to restrict voting access by pushing the elimination of countywide voting and a return to precinct-only voting. I urge the court not to allow these election naysayers to impose their will on the rest of us and to protect the voting rights of all Tarrant County residents by keeping countywide voting intact. I would like to share with the court a voting experience I had a few years ago. I was working in Denton, Texas at the time, and because of my busy schedule during that particular election cycle, the only opportunity I had to vote was on election day. Even though I was able to leave work early to vote that day, because of the distance I had to drive from my place of employment to my voting precinct and the heavy traffic on Highway 35, I had about 15 minutes left to vote when I arrived at my home precinct in Fort Worth. I went to the place I had been voting at for over 20 years, only to find it was no longer a polling location. I then went to the next nearest polling location, but was told I wasn't in the precinct and couldn't vote there. In fact, they referred me back to the polling location that I had just left. I was never able to find anyone who could tell me where to vote. As a result, I ran out of time and was unable to exercise my right to vote. On that day, I was deprived of my ability to choose the people who represent me. Had countywide voting been available at that time, this would not have happened. Opponents of countywide voting claim it is a flawed system and should be abolished. However, precinct-only voting is also flawed, and what happened to me is proof of that fact. When this court voted back in February of this year to terminate its partnership with Trinity Metro to provide free bus service for voters on Election Day, one of the reasons cited was that it only benefited a small number of residents. I submit to you that this same logic should also apply to any decision made regarding countywide voting. Tarrant County has over 1.2 million registered voters, and countywide voting should not be abolished just to appease a small group of dissatisfied voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Ms. Terry, we have Bishop Mark Kirkland.
Good morning. I know the DA's office uses the Tarrant County Community College for law enforcement training for DA employees. This was not the first time Commissioners Court has approved a request similar to the one you did today. Perhaps the Commissioners Court should rethink the use of ARPA funds for Sheriff's Law Enforcement Physical Training Center. With news that the sheriff's policies are over 15 years old, perhaps an upgrade of his policies, soft law enforcement training, might be more appropriate than the construction of a physical law enforcement training center when other facilities located in the county could be used. Speaking of the sheriff, his press release states that Kyrie Campbell was transferred to a state mental hospital, but his mother told others that he was transferred to a state-supported living center. Perhaps the sheriff's office could ask MHMR to explain the differences to his staff and provide training on the differences between IDD populations and those suffering from mental illness, and what appropriate housing or facilities for each of those groups classified as either IDD or suffering from mental illness exist in the state. How many more individuals similar to Kyrie remain in the county jail? Oops, we don't know because the public dashboard doesn't include IDD or those suffering from mental illness. Should we file monthly Open Records Act requests to obtain the data? I don't think your staff would appreciate that. That same sheriff's press release reports that staff supplied coloring books. I was reminded of frequent news reports this time of year, or maybe a month or two later, indicating public school teachers buy supplies for their classrooms.
You got time?
I wonder, what does the sheriff's policy say about IDD populations? Does the policy include using developmentally age appropriate resources such as coloring books? Who pays for these? Who buys those per the policy? Does the policy use the most correct current term? According to the website Abilities Together, Rosa's Law is a federal statute from 2010 and basically replaced the term, quote, mental retardation, end quote, with intellectual disability in various federal statutes. How are the county's policies worded? Do the commissioners know? I believe the commissioners and the DA should know. While in college, I volunteered at what was then called the Mejia State School, which is now called the Mejia State Supported Living Center. I have fond memories of those days. I'm glad Kyrie is in a facility where hopefully he can thrive. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Following Mr. Kirkland, we have Jimmy Blackwell.
I'm totally annoyed by the city and county officials that stand by and look at today's occurrence as if in a nonchalant fashion, even though some of you act as if they occur in a vacuum, and your neutrality to me is quite annoying. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, if an elephant has his foot on a mouse's tail, and if he was to say that he was neutral, how do you think the mouse will feel about his neutrality? How much has been said, much has been said, some cruel words, some terrible innuendos, but it is all necessary, and it will not stop until the atoning day of justice emerges for Anthony and Chastity. History tells us if you don't have extremes, then you don't have any moderation. The sheriff is exposed to being a political agent. He only cares about votes and perhaps saving his job. I cannot blame the sheriff, because if I could be non-accountable as he is, yet get all the funding that I need, then I too would act like this is my town. You people are just as guilty as he is because you keep writing the checks. Dear commissioners, Mr. Judge, we do not want two scapegoats to serve as sacrificial lambs. We want all the wolves and the dogs who committed the sin of commission by what they did to Anthony and Chastity, and even more so, those who are guilty by the sin of omission by failing to take actions. No one gets a black card from me. I want them all charged. We believe the sheriff hides behind the phrase ongoing investigation. That's tactical maneuvering. As a village, we believe the sheriff has proven himself derelict and ineffective of performing his daily task as the leader. We further believe that he is highly incapable and is guilty of fostering a climate of evil. Be it known, the Panther no longer sleeps in Fort Worth. Therefore, be it resolved, the culture of this dysfunctional Tarrant County Jail cannot be rectified as long as Mr. Wilburn is the sheriff. Therefore, we request his immediate resignation. Anthony Johnson Jr. was a person, a Negro man, a son, a brother, and my brother in arms as a Marine. Semper Fi, Anthony. Hoorah!
All right, following Mr. Blackwell, I will make the announcement if you have signed up and have not spoken because you were in the holding, you can come forward, and then if anyone else that hadn't signed up can speak.
If you are familiar with Gardening 101, you'll quickly learn that you cannot get rid of weeds by clipping off the tops. You can only get rid of the weeds by digging up the roots. Tarrant County Jail has a wild weed problem, and this court is under the impression that by clipping off the top, it'll solve all the problems. That solution has failed miserably. This court believes that when someone dies or is murdered while in Tarrant County custody, the solution is to give survivors a few measly $1 million. And hopefully they will go somewhere and sit down and be quiet, to quote a member of this commission's court. Rather than adopt a plan to get to the root of the problem, this court has adopted a die and pay strategy. The root of the problem is the failed leadership of the county sheriff. Loved ones want justice, not county death payments. They want their loved one returned to them alive, not to have the county jail to be their deathbed. Let's put a stop to this die and pay system. Let's get to the root of the problem. It's much easier to pay off the family than it is to challenge this sheriff to do his job. 60 people dead? 67. That's irresponsible. So what are you guys going to do? What's the cutoff? 80? 100? When will this die and pay system end, when loved ones can expect their child, their brother, their relative to go to this facility and return alive and not in a body bag? This was a Marine. I'm a Marine. Semper Fi Dallas. Hoorah! We stand together, and I will be with this family until justice is served and death payments is not the answer. Let's dig up the roots. Let's hold this sheriff accountable. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. We need action. This was a Marine, a government employee, and he's treated like a dog.
All right, there will be no more outbursts, or we're going to clear the chambers. The end. So the people that I previously called, if you were not present at the time I called you, or you were in the waiting room, you may come forward first.
Commissioners and those of you who are present, I am Estella Williams, President of the Fort Worth Tarrant County Branch NAACP. I stand before you today because I'm concerned with the notion of countywide voting being prohibited, not existing anymore. That is a task that is necessary. Not everybody has a car. Not everybody has transportation that they can call upon without being able to say, this is the time I need to be where I'm supposed to be. Countywide voting allows for individuals who are commuters by bus, by public transportation, to be able to get to a polling place. Not everybody gets off from work at a decent hour where they can get to the location at a time before the polls close. We've heard many occasions where people are saying they get there just in a nick of time. Not everybody is given the opportunity to have a day off, or even the hours they need in order to get to the polling places in order to cast their vote. So they're rushing and they're doing everything that they can to be able to exercise a constitutional right that's been given. So I say to you, for those persons who are unable, we're talking about many individuals who are not given the day off, who've not given the opportunity to be at a polling site at an hour or two before it's time that that poll close, that we maintain the county-wide voting sites. It is necessary for more than just one reason. It's necessary because why? Everybody has been given a constitutional right to be able to vote if they're eligible, and we have many who are, but yet they are using various transportation or means in order to get there. I'm also concerned with the lack of ballot secrecy, lack of ballot opportunities for folks to go behind that box and cast their vote and not be concerned about what is it that someone is going to get to learn about me. My ballot, my vote should be between me and that person who is held accountable for counting those ballots, not because they can locate who I am to see what I am and what it is I'm responsible for. So I say to you, I request that a person's privacy be maintained, a person be given the opportunity to go in and cast a vote for that individual or those choices that they desire and not have to worry about the voter intimidation that will follow. So again, I am saying we must maintain the privacy of what it is that a person thinks is their choice and not a choice based on voter intimidation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who signed up to speak that has not spoken yet, that you actually signed up? Is that you? Did you sign up?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Carla Palomares. I live in Precinct 4. Just 4 days ago, it was made public that 2 individuals involved in the death of Anthony Johnson Jr. were indicted for murder. When will the rest of this court call for the resignation of Bill Wayborn? Over 65 deaths have occurred in the jail since he took office. When will Tarrant County and the families and communities of all these people who have been murdered have accountability? We need the full video of the incident that happened in the jail. And Judge O'Hare, you need to be a better leader and servant to the people and make this happen, because you could if you wanted to. I'm also here to express my frustration and concern about having to always come down to this court to remind you all that common sense practices are just that. Nearly 50% of the total counties in our state take part in the county-wide voting program that began in 2012. And many counties more continue to take part as they meet the guidelines for their growing populations and to meet the needs to provide safe, adequate, and accessible resources for voting. Many of us here got word that there was a possibility that this court would be pursuing to end this program. Let's call it what it is, an attack on voting rights, and the irony is that it comes from the very folks who claim to be working to protect our votes. And Tarrant County continues to pride itself in being the fastest growing county in the nation, but in reality, we're going backwards in many ways, and we absolutely will be if we end countywide voting. That list of polling locations from our election website continues to shrink every year. Last year, when I voted in the municipal election, I actually had to make 2 trips because the polling location that I saw on the early voting list was actually closed. So I want to know 2 things. What problem are we solving by ending countywide voting? And when will this court stop making malicious moves to undermine our communities? Thank you.
Thank you. Did you sign up to speak?
Yeah.
All right,
My
please
name
state
is
your name.
Lydia Faith. I'm speaking on behalf of Tarrant for Change. I am here today to demand the Commissioner's Court release a full tape of the murder of Anthony Johnson Jr. Where is the transparency and where is the accountability? Every single person who has been murdered in the Tarrant County Jail matters and deserves justice. The Sheriff's Department, Tarrant County Jail, and Bill Wayborn all have blood on their hands. This Commissioner's Court must demand Wayborn's resignation and do a full investigation of the Tarrant County Jail. We call upon the community to continue sharing what is happening and fighting against these injustices, to continue showing up to Commissioner's Court and demand accountability. It has been shown time and time again that our elected officials do not care about our community. We care for each other, and we will continue to be here. I am also here to tell you, Tim O'Hare and Commissioner's Court, that you all cannot get rid of countywide voting. If you get rid of countywide voting, you are stripping away the rights of voters across the county. You would be making it difficult to vote when it's already a difficult process to not only vote, but to get registered to vote in Texas. Texas is one of the hardest states to get registered in and one of the hardest states to vote in, which is completely done on purpose by Republicans and extremists. Tarrant County is over 860 square miles. Having county voting makes it easier for our community to actively participate in voting, which is their right. Why are you trying to make it so much harder to vote? Tim O'Hare, Manny Ramirez, Gary Fickas, you have all aligned yourself with extremists since the beginning of your campaigns. We know that your pockets are deep aligned in extremist pockets. We know that you want voter suppression because our community is ready to vote all of you out. For once, stand up for our community instead of aligning yourself with these extremists and do what is right.
All right, did you sign up to speak?
I did.
You did?
I did sign up to speak.
All right,
I tried signing up as well virtually.
What is your name?
Yesterday and today.
State your name.
Rogelio Mijueiro. I am Arlington 76010. I called this morning, so thankfully they were able to sign me up to speak. Thank you all so much for having me, and thank you all so much for the work that you do. I always like to start with that because I understand that it's hard work. I want to thank every single essential worker that we have here present. Thank you for the work you do. I come to you as a truth teller. I try writing something down, but I have to tell you the truth because I believe that sometimes government officials are becoming more storytellers. And we can continue telling a story that in this county we're doing everything that we can to keep people safe. But when you have 67 deaths since 2017, there's clearly a problem. So I want to echo that first. I'm with the Sunrise Movement, and we're young people, mostly based, in like East Fort Worth and Arlington area, and we're advocating for public transportation. We're doing so because we went to Dallas County Commissioners and Dallas City Council meetings, and we overheard how they actually voted down the high-speed rail that we have from Dallas to Fort Worth. So we're actually here to ask from you to participate in that and demand that we build the high-speed rail, demand that we actually try to collaborate with them so that we can provide that access to every single community member. And I think that aligns with access. That aligns with the fact that I overheard the other day that we were preventing people from using the Trinity Rail for free to go vote. And I think that covers the topic of access. I've taken public transportation my whole life that I've lived here in DFW. And what I understand here is that if I am a student at UTA, but my precinct is all the way in Grapevine, for example, I'm not going to be able to cast my vote on time. So I believe that this court needs to do whatever it can to include that access. So countywide voting, it's not only important, but it's essential and it's needed. With that, then I move to another climate issue that we have at the jails. In this case is the extreme heat. The extreme heat is a climate emergency. It's truly affecting us. I see it with the construction workers all the time. And I started by telling you that I'm a truth teller because when you are at the door, at someone's door, and you're asking them about their experience, they're telling you the truth. They're telling you that this heat is unbearable. So when I think about the county jails, and when I think about the problems happening with the sheriff, it's systemic. There's clearly something that we have to fix. So there's a few things that I definitely wanted to state today, but I think I'm trying to cover everything. But the most important part for me is that I believe I need you to be brave. I want to hear headlines that say that our Commissioner's Court is truly standing for the people and they're going to lead the way with transparency by not only releasing videos, but ensuring that we no longer have deaths, ensuring that no longer public safety becomes a death sentence for low-income, underclass privileged, usually people. So I'm worried, I'm concerned. I think that we're doing something wrong. I think that your actions moving forward have to truly pave the way for what we want this county to be. I'm scared. I'm really scared, and it's a shame because I wish I could tell you that I trust every single person in this.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anybody else who has actually signed up? All right. If you haven't signed up, now you can start.
Good afternoon. My name is Tina James, and I just kind of wanted to speak on something as it relates to the voting situations. It's kind of hard as a woman of color, a mother of four, that we continually have to fight to be able to vote. The law was actually, the voters' right was passed in 1965, August the 4th, where our 36th president actually pushed to get us those abilities to vote. But it seems like no matter what we do, we try to be good citizens. We try to get along with everyone. We try to work with everyone around us. And no matter what we do, we're constantly pushed back. And not just people of color, but it seems like there's problems with being black and being able to vote wherever you stay at and or not wherever you stay at. Or even when you're being white and because you're supporting the black people. And I don't want you to think that this is about racism, but it seems like that's what it falls back to. Racism with Democrats, Republicans. No matter what we do, we're always pushed back. And so when you state that you want to start changing laws again, it continually to put a red flag on why. You had the chump, that dude right now, who's saying that if he doesn't become president, there's going to be a bloodbath. And here he is still able to vote. You have people who actually have felonies and cannot vote. And there's constantly being ways given, there's being leeways for this child, this chump thing, who's constantly making accusations. January the 6th, insurrection. Aren't y'all friends? Or do you know him? I'm just asking.
We don't exactly go way back.
Okay,
Yeah.
but y'all are still current friends right now. You do support him, right?
Well, this is a question and answer session. But I would describe someone as a friend who I actually know or can pick up the phone and call.
So when you get donations as you were running for an election, and those people that make those donations, would you call them friends? But they made donations towards your campaign.
Some of them, but again, this is not question and answer. Use your time how you want, but it's not going to be question and answer.
I understand. But back to what I'm saying, you keep changing the line. Every time we move forward, we're constantly kicked back. You're removing the public transportation for people who are in need to vote and are trying to change now where that you cannot vote in different areas that are not in your districts and things like that. That's just constantly, it's like every time elections come up, there's something different that kicks us even further back. Not just myself, but other people around me. I just wanted to read this part to you as well. I know my time is moving here. So I wanted to tell you about the election benefits of changing things in our community, and why we should be allowed to vote any and wherever we can, because it is so important that we all have an input on things that happen in our county, our city, and our states, as it also relates to education, safety, and health. We'll put more money into animals than we will into people that will help them get certain places to make certain decisions that would possibly put you where you are or possibly remove you where you could be.
Thank you. All right, anyone else who would like to speak?
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. I'm Ryan Price. I'm the Senior Pastor of Broadway Baptist Church, and I would like to read just the beginning of a complaint that was filed on May 5th, 2023 to the Department of Justice, and a letter of some 38 pages written to Attorney General Merrick Garland and Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark. We write to you on behalf of the Broadway Baptist Justice Committee, ICE out of Tarrant County, United Fort Worth, and all of the Tarrant County community members who are gravely concerned about the health and safety of the thousands of people incarcerated in the custody of Tarrant County Jail. The Tarrant County Jail is a danger to the Tarrant County community. Since 2017, at least 52 individuals have died in the jail, and countless others have suffered serious injury and illness. Each of them was subjected to a system that ignored their medical and mental health needs and put them at risk of violence from guards and other inmates in violation of the 8th and 14th Amendments. Because of the lack of transparency and proper investigation into those deaths, family members have been left wondering about their loved ones' last hours and knowing that basic care and treatment could have prevented many of the deaths and serious injuries. These practices have continued with little change, despite efforts to appeal to the Tarrant County Sheriff, Tarrant County Commissioner's Court, and the Tarrant County officials, as well as entities including the Texas Rangers. This system of violence, failure to provide medical care, and the failure to adequately investigate is characteristic of a culture of secrecy and cover-up. This is exemplified in the death of Robert Miller. Miller was 38 years old, homeless, and lived with mental illness. Police officers arrested Miller near his homeless encampment in July 2019 for alleged failure to pay court fines and warrants for previously charged misdemeanors. During the booking, jail staff pepper sprayed him at least 3 times at close range inside the jail and gave him a cold shower. Miller complained, and shortly thereafter, that he could not breathe, that he had asthma, and that he needed water. Jail staff continued to point pepper spray guns at him, carried him to his cell, and left him there face down on the floor less than an hour.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Jail staff found him unconscious.
Sir, your time is up.
And he died the next morning with inflamed lungs, swelling in his face and
he is now held in contempt. Remove him.
Nose.
He is in contempt. Who booed? Is that you?
You wanted me?
Yeah, who booed?
Oh, I won't let you kick me out there with it.
Yeah, oh, yeah, well, try me. So, do you wish to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Sandra Cooley, and I'm speaking as an election poll worker. I've been one for the last 7 years. Even during the time of COVID, we election workers, we spend sometimes 20-hour days getting there at 5:30 in the morning, staying till the polls close, till we close down the polling sites. Usually it's 8:30. Going to the rallies, sometimes it's 10 o'clock before we're done. We take it seriously. It is our job. We take an oath. It is our job to help every eligible voter to vote. And I've worked when we had countywide, which is what we have now, and it's wonderful, versus a precinct-only elections. And it makes a difference when people can work or can vote where they happen to, in the area they happen to work or go to school. It helps people that don't have transportation. It is so much better, and this getting rid of countywide voting is a solution to a non-existent problem. There is no voter fraud in Tarrant County. Everybody here that works polls and cares about the voter, we do a good job. And that's what we need to continue to do, is countywide voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right, seeing none, please remain seated and silent while I read the following. You're out of order.
I'm not out of order.
You are. The
Mr.
Commissioner's
Merritt,
Court. The
would
Commissioner's
you
Court
please
will now
make
recess.
sure that all of us have a copy of the latest.
The chair has not recognized your right to speak at this moment.
SOP from the sheriff's
You
office.
are welcome to do whatever you want with Mr. Merritt
Make
afterwards.
sure we all have that. Thank you.
You are not recognized to speak. The Commissioners' Court will now recess the open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempt under sections 551071, 072, 074, 076, 087, and 0725 of the Texas Government Code. We are now in recess. We're good? All right. All right, we're back from executive session. We had a fairly short executive session. There are no items that need addressing from executive session. Happy July 4th to everyone. We are now adjourned.